Onda UNED.
Acortando distancias. Welcome to this special coverage of the 5th English Teaching Congress of the Northern Region in Costa Rica. This Congress is organized by Ministerio de Educación Pública, Universidad Estatal de Distancia, la Universidad Nacional, el Instituto Tecnológico de Costa Rica, la Escuela Técnica Agrícola e Industrial, Universidad Técnica Nacional y el Instituto Nacional de Aprendizaje. My name is Michelle Ramirez and I will be your host today. Today, we have two special guests. One of them is Henry Sevilla Morales from Universidad Nacional and Universidad de Costa Rica, and Lindsay Chavez Fernandez from Universidad Nacional. Thank you guys for coming today. Welcome. These presenters were part of the thematic block Empowering Teachers Through Technology. So today we want to listen about your workshop and the knowledge you have to share with all of us today. Thank you. And for that, I have a question for you guys. What are some classroom-ready adaptations that educators can use to integrate AI feedback into everyday pronunciation practice?
Sure. Well, thank you for having us. We have been working specifically on two activities in order to have our students actually pay attention to feedback and go back to what we have been telling them, right? And I'm going to go over one. Henry will be going over the second one. We get our students work on something that we call roles, okay? It's R for reinforcement, A, activity, and L for logs. So reinforcement, activity, logs. And basically what we get them do is that once we provide feedback to them about, activities we have been doing in class or maybe an oral presentation, we will provide them feedback. Could be pronunciation feedback. It could be grammar feedback. And we get them go back to that feedback at home. We get them to analyze the mistakes that they have been making. And then they have to go over dictionaries. It could be online dictionaries. We also get them to use a website that is called Youglish. In this particular website, they can type in words, and then they get tons and tons of videos from YouTube, for example, and they can listen to the pronunciation of that particular word being used by native speakers. And then once they practice the words that they have been mispronouncing, then they ask the AI, any AI they want, and they tell the AI, look, chat, I have been having trouble with this particular words. These are the words. Can you please help me practice? Can you come up with a poem? Can you come up with a short text? Can you come up with a dialogue so that I can practice the words? And we generally give our students prompt samples. So they type in the prompt and they ask the chat, for example, to provide them with, boldface, the words, the ones that they need to practice. They can ask the chat to give them the IPA transcription for those particular words. Sometimes, depending on the level of students, we also tell them, okay, ask the chat to use capital letters for the stress syllable in that particular word. So they get to practice the poems, the short text, the dialogues. And in that particular way, they are tackling the words that they need to practice in a more meaningful way, right? And using context. And this is one of the activities that we have been doing. We generally work on these two activities together. We ask them to go over roles first so that they get maybe a daily or weekly practice. And after certain weeks have gone by, then we ask them to work on vivas, feedback vivas, and Henry is going to explain all about them.
Thanks very much, Lindsay and Michelle. Michelle, thanks for having us. Yes, before I go on to explain how we get to connect feedback with AI, I need to explain what a feedback viva is. Number one, it can be pronounced in at least two or three ways. You can say feedback viva, you can say viva, and it comes from a longer phrase, which I think comes from Italian, viva voce, they say in English, and it means a defense, a viva voce, voce sometimes, or voci sometimes. What that is the idea comes from thesis defenses, dissertation defenses. The idea is that the applicant has to defend their ideas, the research ideas, but that idea was soon imported into the field of pronunciation, and so that's what we're doing here. What we're doing is, once we have students go over their pronunciation mistakes through roles, reinforcement activity logs, what we do is we have them do a feedback viva report, which can be done in two ways. One way is a face-to-face interview where they say, well, these are my mistakes throughout the semester, or these are the mistakes I made in this specific oral presentation. This is what I said, and this is what I should have said. For example, I said public, and it should be public. I said schedule, and it should be schedule without an extra sound at the beginning. So they do that, and they do that through, by number one, going over their mistakes, and by practice them via the role, the reinforcement activity log, and then they plan an outline with the mistakes that they've been making throughout different presentations and classroom activities. And they use artificial intelligence to help them with that. We encourage them to, for example, to use a prompt that tells the AI, look, generate a poem that contains these problematic words, use, for example, different intonation patterns, use, for example, different levels of formality, so that they can integrate the feedback into authentic passages generated by AI, and also they get to practice their different difficult words that they had challenges with throughout the semester. So basically, a feedback viva, or viva, if you want to pronounce it like that, is a report which can be done via a recording or via a face-to-face interview, where they reflect on the different mistakes that they have been making and how they interacted with artificial intelligence chatbots in order to tackle those mistakes. So a couple of additional examples before I wrap it up. So for example, they could say, well, this is me, Henry Sevilla, I'm a student in this course, and recently I made these mistakes. For example, I said communicative, and it should have been communicative with the stress on the second syllable. I said collaborative, and it should be collaborative with the stress on the second syllable, for example, and so on and so forth. And like that, we get them to reflect on what they did, use AI in order to tackle those mistakes, and produce the right pronunciation patterns by combining self-reflection, artificial intelligence, and better pronunciation skills.
Thank you so much, guys. It was really, really interesting, and that definitely gives us a different perspective of how we can teach English. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your contribution in the 5th English Teaching Congress. On behalf of the organization committee, we invite the audience to access to a series of interviews posted in Ondonet YouTube channel. Thank you.
Onda UNED.
Acortando distancias.